And then there's the third response that we want to consider. That's of the shepherds. And they responded with enthusiasm. Luke chapter 2, verses 16 and 17. Just before this, let me bring it up to speed. We all know that passage. And there were shepherds in the fields nearby, keeping watch over their flocks by night, just outside of Bethlehem. And the angel of the Lord appeared to them, and they were sore afraid. Remember that? They were terrified. And the angel proclaimed, I have good news of great joy for all the people. For today, in this little town that you're just outside of, the city of David, is David's hometown, is born a king. He is Christ the Lord. You will find him wrapped in, I grew up on the King James, in swaddling clothes. If you remember that, in cloths. Just strips of cloth, that's all they had. Lying in a manger. And then the angels disappeared. And then it says in verses 16 and 17, so they hurried off, the shepherds, it says. They hurried off and they found Mary and Joseph and the baby who was lying in the manger, just like the angel had said. And when they had seen him, they spread the word concerning what had been said to them about this child. Enthusiasm. It comes from entheos, the Greek behind that. It means to be filled with God. Originally, you know how words, they lose their meaning in a secular society. But originally, the word means to be filled with God. The shepherds were enthusiastic. They were so filled with the good news of Jesus, they ran. Shepherds don't abandon their flocks very often. But they did that night. And they ran. And they found the baby Jesus, and they told everybody about what had happened. Jesus gave a great little mini sermon on enthusiasm in one verse. In Luke chapter 6, verse 45, here's what Jesus said. He said, for the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. The mouth speaks what the heart is full of. That is an awesome verse when your heart is filled with God, isn't it? When you're filled with good things, when you're filled with godly things, that's an awesome thing because it just spews out. Your mouth is the doorway, the open gate for your heart. And when your heart is filled with God's Word and God's truth and a love for the Lord and your passion for the mission of the kingdom, man, that just comes out in every conversation you're in. That is good news. But it's also, there's a little warning tucked away in there too, because what if your heart's filled with other things? Right? Take a little inventory. What's just spewed out of your mouth in the last week? What just comes out? Whoa, where did that come from? It just came out. That's a little clue as to what your heart is filled with. There's a challenge in there, isn't there? Oh, that we would be filled like the shepherds were with the good news of Jesus, and that He dwells in our hearts, and that we love Him, and that we live for Him, and that we walk with Him and talk with Him along life's narrow way, as the old song says. The sheep's heart were so filled with the message about Jesus, it just overflowed everywhere they went. I got a great Christmas prayer for you. A little challenge. If you hear that statement of Jesus's and you're thinking, I want my heart to be so full of God and of His goodness and of His truth and His character and who He is living inside of me, I want that to come out. Here's a little prayer. You can write this down. God, empty me of blank and fill me with blank. And you can fill those blanks in with whatever you need. God, empty me of that attitude, that thought, that thing that came out last week or yesterday or on the way to church. Lord, empty me of that. Whatever it is that's causing that, empty me of that, Lord. When I act that way, when I say that thing, when I engage in this pattern of living, these words, these thoughts, whatever, you know what it is. Lord, empty me of that. Help me to put that off and fill in all those spaces with your truth and your justice and your righteousness and your goodness and your mercy and your grace and your perspective in the mission of the kingdom. Lord, fill me with those things. Fill me with your words. Fill me with a perspective on life and for the people around me that you have for them, that I might see them as my mission field, that I might see them as people that I can be a witness in front of. Fill me with that great prayer. Great prayer.